Welcome, everybody. It's time for another episode of the ShopNotes Podcast. I'm Phil Huber from ShopNotes Magazine, along with Logan Whitmer from Popular Woodworking and John Doyle from ShopNotes and Woodsmith. And today is episode number 164. We're going to talk about some new tools, making a few things for your shop, and also just a general checkup. It's been a couple of weeks and we're running out of summertime. Want to say a big thanks to Titebond. You want a glue that you can trust, and fortunately, Titebond has the glue you need to get the job done with confidence. From interior glues with strong initial tack and short clamp time to exterior glues with exceptional strength and water resistance, look to Titebond, the right glue for your next project. For more information, visit Titebond.com.
This podcast is also brought to you by grandparents. Grandparents, the people to come up and watch your kids so you can podcast.
Oh, that's...
My parents aren't here. That's bullcrap.
What?
That's
you got a
pretty
bad
Paying for
set.
kids to be at summer camp.
Yeah. You know what? They shouldn't have to watch my kids, but you know what? They should have thought about that before they had all these grandkids.
That's right.
Yeah.
What were they thinking?
did it to themselves.
Serves them right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, my wife's back in school. She's a teacher, but the kids aren't back in school yet. We're in that week of limbo.
Yeah.
So
We have that next week. It's like summer camp's done. School doesn't start till Wednesday.
Yeah.
Like, what do you do with the crotch goblins for 2 days?
right. They just watch each other.
Yep.
Free range.
Yeah.
The jungle wants them. The jungle can have them.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right. On unrelated business, I was at the state fair this past weekend and looking through the poultry barn
Okay.
and thought of you, Logan,
Okay.
because they had two different species of runner duck
Yep.
on display, which was super cool. So,
Yeah. I have talked for a long time about getting something that lays eggs, whether that is chickens, ducks, or platypus. I don't know. I don't think platypus eggs are very good to eat.
Yeah.
But, you know, I just haven't done it yet. But the runner ducks are super cool, especially since they look like my spirit animal. They just look dorky. You know what I mean? Like, they just look dumb.
Yeah.
So,
They run all upright and
yeah. Well, they have they look like the unholy offspring of a regular duck and a bowling pin.
yeah, kind of. Now that Affleck duck is not a runner duck. He's just a white duck.
So they had the white runner ducks, which is usually what I've seen.
Yeah.
And they're, in my opinion, generally a little larger. But then they had some smaller, what were they, brown runner duck or something. It was a little smaller, and they looked a little cooler. It was just kind of fun to see them.
The brown runners almost look like a hen mallard, kind of, just darker.
A little bit.
They kind of have that same modeling type look to them. See, I wonder now, not to go morbid on this, but I wonder what their like meat's like, right? Like. Because they have such an odd shape. Like, are they like chicken tender breasts? Is that what they are? Like, you know, they're not like the chonky chicken breast. They're the small, thin tenders. Is that what these runner ducks are like? Because that's kind of the shape that they are.
right.
Maybe.
And are they really tough meat because they're out just running around all the
Running
time?
a lot, yeah.
Real
I don't know.
sinewy.
Yeah, well, but you figure ducks are swimming no matter what. Anyways, they're always using
Yeah.
their legs. So,
That's true.
Yeah.
you know, not that I don't generally keep duck legs when I shoot ducks. Occasionally, if they're big ducks, but
All right, that's our discussion question for today. If you have experience with runner ducks in terms of either eggs or the meat, I want to hear about it. You can put that in the discussion or in the comments section on our YouTube channel, or send us an email, woodsmith@woodsmith.com.
I've also strongly considered quail.
Okay.
For quail eggs. But
I mean, that's like
Plus, then I can train. Then I can train the dogs with them.
Yeah, that's like two different ends of the egg size spectrum, though.
That is, yeah, I know. Although, have you seen the cute little quail egg openers? They look like little scissors, and they cut the top of the quail egg off because they're so small you can't really crack them.
Right.
It's like 3 quail eggs to every chicken egg. I'm like, you're gonna need a lot of quail to make up a breakfast. Well, my kids don't need eggs, so it'd be fine.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's all fair.
Yeah.
All fair. Okay. So I saw, this was just a curiosity to me rather than trying to promote a specific type of tool. But in the world of table saws,
Yep.
if you start thinking of like the big honkin' European sliding table saws, a lot of those, because they're designed for primarily breaking down sheet stock.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of those will have a scoring blade on it.
Yeah.
Which is just like a little tiny saw blade that runs in the opposite direction of the main blade, and it's just in front of it. So it, like what it says, just, it's usually only raised like a 32nd of an inch or something like that to just perforate the face veneer, so when the main blade comes through and cuts, you have a really clean cut, and saves a little wear and tear on the main blade from having to be a cutting blade and a smooth surface blade, if that makes sense. And then I got a promotional email from Festool that they have a new track saw coming out, their 60, which is their big size. So this is already a big saw. And it has a scoring blade on the track saw, which I thought was kind of crazy.
I saw it in February when I was at the Festool event.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yep, and I actually cut with it.
Yeah.
They've designed this for the Festool's main industry is like, or their main consumer is like the industrial professional market. Like, us hobbyists are a very, very, very small portion of what they sell to, right?
Sure.
So that saw is designed for like the countertop installers, the guys doing a lot of stuff with melamine and laminate. That's why they designed that saw, according to the Festool themselves.
Right.
So the item that they had there that they were cutting at their marketing event was like plastic laminate covered, particle board, basically like think of a melamine countertop, and it leaves a really clean cut. I mean, I think both of you guys have probably used our Festool track saw that we have in the office, and it is, in my opinion, the nicest cutting track saw you'll find. It cuts so clean. So this just is that to the nth degree. But
okay.
Yeah.
Was it, I don't know, was it chunky? Like, was this a difficult
It's a
saw
big
to
saw.
move around?
It was thick.
It was thick. It was a healthy saw. Now I've put my hands on the Makita track saw, which the Makita has a 36 volt, so it runs off two 18-volt batteries. It's a 36 volt track saw, cordless, obviously, with a 3.5 or 3 9/16 inch depth of cut. So that's a deep cut. It'll cut 3.5 inch thick stock. Yeah, so it uses a 9-inch blade, something like that, I think.
Okay.
So it's a big track saw. It's not any larger than that. Now, I will say, Festool doesn't trim any of their tools down. I wouldn't say any of the Festool stuff, they're not lean and mean by any means. They're well built, and they're well designed. So I think some of that goes into like, there's a big shroud on it. There's a big shroud because it does really well at dust collection. So, yes, it's probably slightly larger and slightly chunkier than like a comparable track saw from somebody else, but there are reasons for it. It's not because of a lack of design. It's actually the opposite. It's because it's designed better, I think, in my opinion, than other ones.
Yeah.
So it's a big. I mean, it's a big saw, and if I remember right, it's a pretty pricey saw.
Well, I'm sure that it is. I'll put a link to it on the show notes page, but I guess just seeing it with a scoring blade was kind of an interesting development in the sense that, you know, if you looked at historically, like what we've shown in our magazines, Popular Woodworking included, you had the time when the editors were young and healthy and trying to show off, so you're breaking down full sheets of plywood on the table saw.
Stupid.
As the staff ages, then you start having articles and techniques about taking a circular saw and a cutting guide or whatever, and then you break down the plywood into manageable chunks, so to speak, but then you're still finishing all your cuts on the table saw, to the point where you have track saws now that are like, that's stupid and is 2 extra steps. So how about we make our finished cuts with the circular saw, because we're not trying to prove anything to anybody anymore. And now we've taken it a step further and gone with what is included on a high-end cabinet making saw and putting it on a portable tool.
Yeah. And I feel like I have fallen into that, you know, I'm just gonna make the final cut off the track saw. The proper steps and the quote right way to do it, you know, in my mind, would be to break it down and then finish cut it at the table saw. Like, you don't use a factory edge, you know, like, there's that type of thing, but for most things it doesn't matter. Like, I mean, if I'm using plywood on a, you know, I don't even know where I would use plywood that having something perfectly parallel would really matter that much. But I agree. I think a lot of people have realized, you know, why not just make your finished cut off the track saw? Like, it gives you that nice of cut generally. Now thinner stock, you know, 1/4 inch, I'll still take to the table. So I had John help me rip some plywood the other day for these doors I was building on video. That's like, I'll just do it. I will say it is the point where I reach for the table saw versus I don't reach for the table saw. Bring my stock to the table saw versus the track saw is if I only have 4-foot tracks and I don't have them connected together. You know what I mean? Oh yeah,
to make essentially a rip cut.
Yeah. So if I'm like trying to rip a full sheet and I only have a 4-foot track, you can scooch the track. It just never really lines up as well as you want it to. But I don't know. I agree with you, and I think that a lot of people have started to shift to track saws versus trying to break stuff down on sheet goods. I would be interested to hear from, like, you know, the Felders and the Grizzlies and, you know, all these people that make these big sliding saws, if they are seeing a decline in the sliding table saws.
Right.
You know, like, are their sales going down not only because of track saws? I think that's probably a you know, much smaller impact on that market, but I think, you know, large scale CNCs are probably taking more of that market than a track saw.
Yeah. But John, you worked in a cabinet shop before coming here. What was the MO for breaking down plywood sheets there?
We had one of those big European sliding table saws.
Oh yeah,
in that shop. Yeah. And they could chuck a 4x8 sheet of plywood if you're not holding on to it, and you kind of, you know, go in at an angle with it or get kind of squirrely.
Yeah.
You know, I learned that in my younger days. So.
I mean, I guess, like, if you think about it, like, if I'm going to build a cabinet shop out, say I was, you know, leaving the magazine and I was going to build out a cabinet shop, I'm not putting a sliding table saw in there.
No, it was huge. It had a huge footprint.
Yeah, well, and like, I figured I would probably be putting a big CNC in there and then letting the CNC cut out all my parts out of a sheet of plywood. You know what I mean? Because then I don't have to. I just have to lift up the sheet of plywood to put it on the CNC, and then I can pull off finished parts, basically.
Yeah, and honestly, that's what we would outsource some of that with shops that had CNCs, just to cut out all. Because it's like, honestly, you don't want to sit there and mess around and just cut out squares of plywood.
Well, no.
When a computer can do it, and put all the the holes in the hard like for hinges. If you're European hinges and stuff. I mean, it's just messing around with jigs and stuff. So
especially since you guys were doing like stock type. Yeah, I'm saying stock type cabinets, right? Like, I mean, they were all basically the same form. So if you have that drawn and all you're changing is sizing of stuff, you can let it do everything. I mean, you can let it do shelf pin holes. You can let it. I mean, you could do rabbets if you wanted to on the CNC. Not that. Yeah. That's how I want to work necessarily, but if my livelihood is building cabinets, that's sure as heck where I'm going.
And I mean, we were a custom cabinet shop, but honestly, 90% of it is standard boxes.
Yes.
Right.
So let the CNC do that. And I mean, if you think about with those sliding table saws too, for breaking down 4x8 sheets of plywood, it's basically a 16-foot by 16-foot footprint, because it's like, you got to feed it, 8 foot each way, and then same thing side to side. So
it
takes up a ridiculous amount of space. So
for anybody that is interested, the TSV60 KEB from Festool. So the Plus, which is not the Plus FS, which I think the Plus FS includes a section of track. The 60 without the track is $1,000, $999.
Yeah, $999, under $1,000.
Under $1,000 for 4 easy payments. With a track, it is $1,175. And it's interesting. I didn't realize what the scoring blades looked like until I saw it in person.
It kind of look like slot cutter bits.
It's exactly what it is. Like, you could throw a slot cutter bit on there and work just fine. Yeah, right. I was expecting it to be a tiny little saw blade with itty bitty teeth. It's not. It's like it looks like a slot cutter bit. It has 2 cutters on it, and that's it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I was on their site too, and I see they have a cordless table saw.
Yeah. Yes. That was released. Okay. That was released at that event as well.
Yeah, that's cool.
That one I would be interested in seeing in person.
Yeah.
And how that operates.
I mean, it's just a little guy, but
it is. It's very small.
Could be handy.
There was something with it though. There's some feature that I'm like, oh, that's really cool for those people. But I don't remember.
What do you mean those people?
Those people.
Well, those people. I mean, like trim carpenters.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I don't remember if it snaps on top of their sustainers. So, like, as long as you have like some of their system, it's like you can set it up like a job site cabinet saw, even though it's like fits in a suitcase. They make cool stuff. Like, and I don't remember who I was telling this to. I don't remember who I was saying it to. The thing I didn't realize about Festool, and I understand that there are people that hate Festool just because they feel like the stuff's overpriced. There are Festool fanboys. Like, I know there are people on both sides of this debate.
Right.
But one of the things I did not realize about Festool that I think is kind of cool, when Festool, the company, discontinues a SKU. Okay, so say, they've made their Capex for 15, 20 years now. Say today they said, we are discontinuing the Capex today. They will carry parts and support their Capexes for 10 years from today.
Yeah.
Which is interesting to me. So they'll repair them, they'll do everything. It doesn't matter if you bought it 20 years ago. 10 years from the discontinued date is when they will continue to service that, which is pretty awesome. And they do all their service in Lebanon, Indiana, where their headquarters is. Well, where their North American headquarters is. Yeah.
I was going to say, because I think Festool is German for starts at $1,000.
Yes. And actually, the Festool in Lebanon is actually set up this is a very German thing. My dad's company is the same way. Their headquarters is in Germany. The factory, everything is set up identical to the German one. So if somebody comes from Germany to the Festool in the U.S. or vice versa, they know where everything's at. Like, the door fixtures are exactly the same. Like, it's just a very German mentality, which is kind of funny. It's kind of cool. So, yeah. And actually, Festool started as I saw lurking on some of the vintage machinery forums. Festo, Festo, was the precursor to Festool.
Festool, yeah.
And they made some really cool, like, industrial type machinery, like stair tread routers. Like, it's just this huge thing you put stair runners in, or stair stringers, and it routes in the treads at a certain. It's super cool. Just weird, stupid stuff that I'm like, that's awesome. I don't need it, but God, it would be cool to have it. Maybe I need to find a friend that has it, so I don't have to.
There you go.
There you go.
So,
well, I do remember it was a few years ago, and by a few, probably like 10 now. There was a guy on YouTube had like a Festool chain mortiser that he had fixed up. So it looked like your standard hollow chisel mortiser, except it was like these little tiny chainsaws that would plunge down and make the mortise. And I'm like, that is super cool.
Yep. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know that there's been a single tool from Festool that anybody said it's kind of a dog. Like, I think every company kind of has their dog tools, but I don't know that Festool has had one. Now they have some very specialty tools. So I'm like, I would never buy that thing.
Right.
They had at this marketing event back in February, they had also released a reciprocating sawzall.
Okay.
And I'm like, like a Festool sawzall, like, I get it for those people. Again, those people. It weighed like 78 pounds. It was so heavy. So I'll be interested. And the guys there said, look, we know it's heavy, but it's German built. It's gut and heavy.
It's not for your little weak North American arms.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, you keep saying those people, and you said earlier, like, the Festool's for like the commercial woodworker market. You're discounting the fact of the retired doctors and lawyers.
That's
woodworkers.
I'm not. Nope. I'm not discounting them. I'm just saying
because they're buying Festool too.
They are. Yes. Oh yes. 100%. I know a lot. I know a lot of like laymen, average woodworkers, like average level woodworkers that buy Festool stuff because it's their hobby. That's what they want to buy.
Yeah.
That's fine.
That's true. There is also a certain segment of the woodworking influencer crowd that likes to have their YouTube backdrop as being a big rack of sustainers and little green sustainer locking badges and whatever. So
yeah. And lots of those people were at this marketing event. There was like 3 of us from magazines there, and then there was a lot of people. I'm like, I don't know who any of these people are. And it's like going to a frat party. They're like, bro. And I'm like,
the Festool Bros.
Festool Bros.
Yeah. Yep. There was a lot of women there as well. So like not just men. There was a lot of women influencers there as well. Right. So
good.
Just to be very clear.
Thank you to Titebond. You want a glue that you can trust, and fortunately, Titebond has the glue you need to get the job done with confidence. From interior glues with strong initial tack and short clamp time, to exterior glues with exceptional strength and water resistance, look to Titebond, the right glue for your next project. For more information, visit titebond.com. So bring it on, listeners of the ShopNotes podcast. Where are you on the Festool divide? Or are you trying to find some kind of middle third way here?
I feel like we've stirred up the Shopsmith crowd there for a little bit. And like, are we just trying to stir the pot here and try to get the Festool
that's what we do. We're
to
shock
react?
Podcasters.
Yep.
You like put a thumb in the eye of all the Intarsia folk and people who like to use ash for making stuff.
Yes.
Red cedar.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We're just gonna upset everybody.
Yep.
Yep.
Although, couple of weeks, we're looking at like, was it 2, maybe 3 weeks?
3 weeks, I think. Or
from
maybe
this
2.5 now.
2.5 weeks until Handworks, when the center of woodworking attention, like Sauron, turns its eye to Iowa.
Yep.
Out in the Amana colonies. About a, I don't know, what would you call that? Hour and 20 from here?
Hour 15, yep. Well,
Yeah.
hour 15 from me, so yeah. I hunt right there, so I know. Like, I get up
Right.
at 3:30 in the morning and have to leave by 4, and I'm there by sunup. So
There you go. Okay.
yep,
Starts 2 weeks from today, September 1st.
that's
Okay.
right. It sure
Friday.
does.
Yep.
So
I will be there on Saturday, September 2nd. I'm going to be traveling there. Actually, both of my brothers are coming down and my dad.
Oh, cool.
So the 4 Huber boys are going to be trolling around at Handworks, looking at some stuff and hanging out. So if you're going to Handworks, I'd love to see you, say hi. I won't have this backdrop with me, so I'll be in my mild-mannered alter ego get up. So
I'll be there Friday and Saturday, but unlike Phil, don't talk to me. Just kidding. Actually, I have a buddy coming up from Atlanta. He's written for my magazine a couple times, for PopWood a couple times, and we're gonna shoot a project while he's here. He's staying with me, and then we'll be there Friday and Saturday probably. I'm
Okay.
guessing.
all right.
It depends on how freaking hot it is. To be fair,
Yeah.
like
Which is funny because they used to do Handworks in May. The previous ones were all in May.
yep.
And in Iowa, that can be a little bit of a crapshoot because you could just as easily have snow or rain
Yep.
or really humid, warm spring weather.
Yeah. The one that the Studley tool chest was here on display was dreary and misty and rainy that day. Oh man.
Yep.
That's
No, I
the day we
remember.
happened to go see the Studley. Yep.
Yep. So, you going, John?
I'd like to.
Because I think
See,
last...
I never know what I'm doing until that day. So
Right.
He has to check with his daughter to
Yeah.
see if he can go.
Because I know one year the whole design group kind of carpooled out there.
Yeah. Yep. I think it was the last Handworks that we had, and it was in
Yeah.
the spring.
Yep.
So.
2017, I think, was the last one. So, like we've said before, if you're coming up for Handworks and you want to catch a tour of the Woodsmith media empire here, we'd love to have you on. Well, I'll be here Friday, and Logan won't. But if you're coming any earlier than that to stay, it's just just a little over an hour drive west from the Amana colonies. You can come take a tour, show you around what we do here, and then see what's going on out at Handworks. So you're doing a chair build, Logan?
Yeah. Yep. So my buddy Rusty is bringing up. I think he's bringing up 2 chairs. I think.
Okay.
Well, I take that back. So I brought him I drove down to Nashville for a photo shoot with Charles Brock, the Highland woodworker. Anybody that watches that. And Rusty, being down in Atlanta, drove the 4 hours up because I, in my truck, brought down an entire white pine log that I cut for Rusty into chair seat blanks, as well as a handful of pieces of walnut, maybe some cherry. And he said, he basically was like, dude, like, you just hooked me up with more material than I will ever need. He's like, for chairs. He's like, I'm going to build you a chair. So I think he's building me one, but then we're also going to do one in photos.
Okay.
And it's going to be kind of an overview on the chair making process, not necessarily
Start to finish.
not necessarily a start to finish chair build, because we are using Curtis Buchanan's design, and that's his design. Like, we're not we're not going to be giving away his design. Like, that's his. So it'll be more of the process, like, hey, here's an overview on how a chair is made, and here's the steps you need, here's some of the tools you need, and that type of thing. So, yeah, we're doing a democratic chair. So,
wow,
yeah,
statement
it'll be
piece,
fun.
huh?
It is, yeah. Yeah.
2024.
Yes. 2024. That's right.
Democratic chair.
Oh God, now John's touching the other crowd.
Yeah, I'm just stirring everybody up.
Yep. So, yeah, so that'll be fun. In the next week, that means I need to finish this shave horse that I started building for the magazine. And also means that I need to build a little kiln for chair parts, which is what we were talking about before we started the podcast. So that will be fun. So, but we'll do a little bit of green woodworking. I got Rusty's like, hey, just make sure you got some white oak logs laying there that we can rive into chair parts. I'm like, dude,
you're like, done.
I got white oak logs, So yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be interesting. So that's kind of been a big push to get stuff moved into the shop, because I know Rusty's going to be here for the long weekend. He'll be coming in Wednesday, leaving Monday. So, over the long weekend, it's kind of been a push just to be able to get, like, the bench in there and the table saw and the band saws and all that stuff. So, yeah, that's been kind of my driving factor, which has been fun.
Okay. And you've picked up a couple of chair-making tools recently.
I did, yeah. I bought a Scorp from a company called Bar Tools. They are in Idaho. Bar Corton used to make like a really nice set of bench chisels, but they're having problems sourcing the handles. But Bar's a blacksmith, a small blacksmith shop. They make tools, so I bought a Scorp from them, and I also bought a Travisher from Alan. I think Alan Williams. It's actually sitting on my desk in there. Phil reaches up and grabs it. But that is for smoothing out the seat. It's basically like a chair seat plane, finishing plane kind of. Nope, he's grabbing it. And there it is. So that is the Travisher. It is beautifully made. Yep, so there's the radius on it. So the Scorp I bought matches that radius for the most part. Now, the thing with buying specialty tools like this, they are not cheap.
Right.
You're supporting a small time tool maker, right? So it's not like you're buying a Veritas whatever that's made by the hundreds. You're buying it from somebody that is literally making this to order for you, which is kind of I don't mind spending the extra to support somebody like that. So I got the Scorp, the Travisher. I picked up a Fro a couple of months back from a little blacksmith down in I don't know, he might be large, I don't know, he's a small, scale wise is small scale blacksmith in I think Alabama. And I also picked up a few of the, I don't know if I need these or not. I picked up a chair reamer from Veritas, and they're tenon taperers. They're tenon shapers. So I'm all set up to build chairs now, yo. So we'll see. I'm trying to avoid like a rabbit hole though, is what I'm really trying to avoid.
Seems like you're not very successful.
I'm not successful at a lot of things in my life, Phil. Thank you. So, yeah, it's
So
what I need to start doing is. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, are you going to be looking for any tools in particular at Handworks to pick up?
Negative. I am leaving my wallet at home. I'm bringing my driver's license. That's it.
Okay.
Because moving stuff from my basement shop into the new shop, I have realized how much crap I have. Like, to the point where I'm like, I forgot I had this. Oh, I bought this and never used it. Like, I have a tool fixation. I like to buy tools, so I'm going to try to not buy any at Handworks.
Okay.
I'm not planning on buying any. I need to actually really trim back what I have, because I got the big fixtures out of the shop downstairs. The only thing that's left in there is my workbench and the drill press for the most part.
Okay.
I'm like, I have nothing in the new shop to store stuff in. So I'm like, what the crap? And I don't want to put a bunch of cabinets in there.
Right.
So no, I'm what I'm really looking forward to at Handworks is meeting several of the people that I featured in the magazine in person. There's a couple of small-time tool makers that are going to be there. The company that I got my apron from will be there, Leather by Dragonfly, Patrick and Michelle. Will Adams from Honeybrook Tools will be there. Jared Green from Green Sawworks. Now he is at Blue Spruce making tools will be there. So
Your buddies from Mortise and Tenon?
Mortise and Tenon guys will be there.
I thought that was their names.
Oh, yeah.
Mortise and Tenon.
Yeah, like Brooks and Dunn.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Lost Art Press will be there. It'll be fun. I've been emailing Megan back and forth, so I'll chat with Megan for a bit while I'm there. Yeah. If anything, I would pick up a couple books from Lost Art Press.
Okay.
So
maybe when you get the shop all done, you should host a satellite Handworks location, tool swap meet and sale.
We'll do a tool sale. We'll do a tool garage sale because that needs to happen real freaking quick. So,
yep.
All right. Speaking of tools, my dad picked up. I think it was from my grandparents.
Speaking of tools, my dad.
Right, yeah.
It's wow.
No. My dad picked up it was in one of my grandpa's sheds after he passed away, a timber framing mortising tool. So it sits on top of a beam, and then you pedal it with your hands, and it spins an auger.
The chain that goes around it? Or no?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, because I've seen ones where they chain onto the timber.
Yeah,
and then as you're doing that, it
feeds an auger bit in to start drilling out mortises. And I think he's looking to move that on to a different owner. So if anybody's interested in one of those and is going to be at Handworks,
we'll bring it.
Bring it. Yeah.
Yep.
Let's make a deal.
Yeah. Does Handworks do they have a pre-show swap meet at all?
I don't know.
I don't
totally
think they
should.
do.
Like a English boot sale.
That's
kind
right.
of thing.
Yeah. Because I will tell you, that's where most of my crap in the basement is from.
Yeah.
It's all vintage stuff. It's all stuff I couldn't leave alone and cold in a flea market by itself, so I brought it home.
Yeah.
And now it's alone and cold with a lot of other tools in my shop. So, and I just don't have time to restore them. So.
Okay. Yeah, no, I could totally see that as just the Handworks trunk or treat event.
Yes, yes. Although there are a couple of people that show up that kind of do the vintage tool thing. The first year they had it, Patrick Leach was there.
Yeah, he's been there a few years, yeah.
Yeah, from the Northeast. And I think he's the Northeast. And I think I always think it's funny, and I've bought a few things from Patrick over the years. Bought a few things from Jim Bodie Tools as well. Patrick's always interesting because he has a lot of stuff. He shows up with two Rubbermaid totes and 5-gallon buckets just full of stuff.
Yeah.
And nothing's priced.
Right.
You pick it up and you're like, hey, how much for this? And he'll be like, yeah, $60. Or yeah, $30.
And then
it's
you set it back down, and then
you make a loop, come back.
How
hey,
much?
How much is this? It might be higher, it might be lower. So it's oh man. So there are those type of people that would probably be like, no, you know what? I don't think you guys should have a boot sale.
Yeah. I think there should be one, just an informal one. Parking is free out on different lots. Just bring some extra tools, put a little sign on the back of your car, put your cell phone number on it. There you go.
Yep. I don't know what the parking situation is going to be like there, because there are going to be a lot of people there.
Mm-hmm.
There will be a lot of people. So
Yeah.
it might be one of those that I call my mom and be like, hey, I'm going to park at your house. I need you to drive the 10 minutes and drop me off,
Take
please.
the shuttle.
Yeah. Take the grandma shuttle.
Yeah.
Couple of downtown Cedar Rapids lots, just
No kidding. I've heard a lot of the hotels were pretty busy
yeah.
in town that weekend. So there's like one hotel in Amana's, and it's like I think it's called the Woolen Mill. It's an old wool mill.
Yeah. Oddly enough.
Yeah, and it's like there's no rooms there.
Yeah.
None. So.
Well, just down the road in Iowa City, we'll be opening college football weekend that Saturday too. So
Oh,
I'm sure
lovely.
you're gonna have a lot of traffic on Interstate 80 that
Yeah.
day. So
Perfect. Super excited about
take
that.
the back roads.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll go up to Highway 30 to get back
There
home.
you go. There you go.
All right. I know you're not much of a hand tool guy, John, but if there was something that you would be looking for at Handworks, you got anything?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I go there and I think everything's cool and interesting, but like if I bought something, it would just sit on the shelf or hang on the wall as a display piece.
Okay.
So
That's
I don't
fair.
know. But yeah, I think all that stuff's cool.
Well, I was really hoping
I
he was going
enjoy
to
it.
give us a wish list, because I was going to load him
Yeah,
up.
you're like I have a box of that for you right here.
Yeah, I was going to.
You don't even have to go to
him
Handworks.
a banker's box.
Yeah.
Wish granted.
Yes.
You know what I think would be cool? Would be like a wood swap meet too.
Oh yeah, like all
Like,
the
you
little
know what I mean?
scrap special pieces of like.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I'm saying that because I moved all my English boxwood stash off my router
Mm-hmm.
table this last week.
Oh,
I want
yeah.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, yep. Bring us your weird shit, because that's what we
Yeah.
want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird turning blanks and
That's right.
be cool.
You'd have to separate it out into different groups, though, because it would be like well-aged hardwoods in planks on this section, and then on
Yep.
the opposite side, you'd have to have your like small exotics.
Yep. Yep. That would be fun, though.
Yeah. All right, so we're looking forward to seeing a bunch of people at Handworks in a couple of weeks. I think that wraps it up for another episode of the Shop Notes Podcast. If you want to check out the free plan that we have with this episode, you can find out what that is on our show notes page over at shopnotes.com/podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and thumbs up, and all the little buttons to push on YouTube to tell you and tell us that you really appreciate the show. You can also leave your comments there or send them to us at woodsmith@woodsmith.com. Special shout out to Tight Bond Glue. We're going to be seeing those folks next week here in the office. And they're the glue that we use here all the time. I grew up on Tight Bond Glue, and I don't think I would even buy another bottle of it, of other stuff. So we have long appreciated what they do and their support for the TV show over the years. So thank you to Tight Bond. Check them out at tightbond.com. We'll see you next week, everybody. Bye.